doing what we're going to do. So anyway, so after I got this whole Chevron thing, it really became clear that say yes and figure out how was really the mindset of a successful entrepreneur, which is you have to be so committed to what it is you're doing. And then, you know, I was interviewed, I've interviewed a lot of media. I think one of the questions I'm asked is, what's the difference between those who make it and those who don't? I said, those who take action. Truly those who take action in the beginning. And then the mission of what you're up to has to be bigger than you and your household. This isn't about just getting the bills paid. Like, we are on a massive mission to change the conversation about money. And that's why I come out all the time. I don't care how many people in a room. I will speak to them. I will get them, you know, excited and very focused with right actions about how do you really make money every day. Like, really, how do you make money every day? That makes sense?
Yes.
And so, so long kind of fast forward is I worked in the Gulf of Mexico, and then they started flying me around to every refinery. I worked in every refinery at Chevron. Just to have fun. I lived in Hawaii, lived in Manhattan Beach, Salt Lake City, out in New Jersey when they had that refinery, and I built fitness centers across Chevron. And then I went to Angola and Papua New Guinea and these sexy, horrible places of the world, Kazakhstan, Russia. And I said, I'm not doing this anymore. And I met Kiyosaki, and I was the Rich Dad, Poor Dad master distributor for Robert for 5 years. And so here's something for all of you that are looking at really doing your business. If you don't have stuff to sell, like I have a lot of stuff to sell. I mean, these are all 4 New York Times bestsellers, but I have a lot more product. Is I sold Robert stuff for 5 years. So it's okay that you're doing prepaid legal. So I want to encourage you, like as a coach too, for you, what's your name?
Linda.
Linda. Sell other people's stuff until you have your stuff.
What do you mean by master distributor?
So when he was getting the game out in 1996-7 is when I met him, when I quit Chevron. He, I had a little throat thing going all week. The game was just sitting on the shelf. And I said, so what are you going to do with the game? I was still working at Chevron. I was working part-time, trying to get out of there to go do more financial work again. And he said, I'm not doing anything. I want to get my book out. And I said, well, then let me do it. So I took the licensing rights to put his game across the world. So I taught people how to teach his game. And so I had this whole army of people teaching game nights, which now there's 25,000 cash flow clubs in the world. And then I have a game called the Millionaire Maker game, and my game is out. And that's a game that, if you're interested in that, is another opportunity to make money and teach our game to all your students. Because we put game nights into the Reno school districts and to the university. And so we teach game nights.
What age?
Really switched on 8-year-olds, all the way, you know, to adults. And so what we do with the kids is we pair them together so they're working in a little team. So it's not just one person, because it's P&Ls, it's balance sheets, it's real financial literacy. So I just want to show that because it's a huge learning is if you don't have your own stuff, sell somebody else's stuff. You know, partner in a collaboration. I mean, there are so many people here, you know, depending on what your business is. So like for you, Linda, with coaching, like, you know, really becoming, what's your name? Becoming an affiliate. I mean, if you're already recommending this to your students, as an affiliate, you make 50%, right? And that's what I do with Robert. So you make 50% of everything you sell. So you're selling my stuff, but that's okay. You're still giving good stuff to the world, and then you're learning. Does that make sense? So if it's not my stuff because it's not your space, then find somebody in your space you can represent. Because you got to sell stuff. And a lot of you, you're not making enough money because you're not selling enough stuff. Like there's some great legal books, and prepaid legal is not enough. So what else can you sell today? Right? Because you sell some great legal content today that you could get paid today, but you won't get paid on prepaid legal today. The check will come later. Today, but not today. Tomorrow you won't get the money in the bank. Not the way you're paid. You're paid later in the week.
You're paid every day.
Oh, you do get paid? Is that?
Prepaid legal, you get paid every day.
Oh, I love that.
Deposited in your account every day.
So if you made a sale and
Today,
you get paid tomorrow if you sold me something today. Okay, good. That's really cool. And then so now expand. Instead of offering 1 or 2, 3 things, offer 5 or 6 things. Right? That's where I want you thinking. Like, where is the money? Because there's money everywhere. Most of you don't have enough stuff to sell, or you don't know what you're selling. Right? Does that make sense? That's where I want you looking. So I've been doing this for a long time. I started making, so I did Robert for 5 years, and now we've been in Live Out Loud for 10 years, making millionaires. So the way the books came about, and one of the biggest mistakes, the difference between me and you, is I put what's in here in a way that you can buy it from me. In fact, we have all 4 books, great special in the back today. That makes sense? So you all have great expertise. And I don't care how old you are. You all have great expertise. The difference is you haven't put it in a way, even if it's an ebook or a report online, you haven't taken any of your expertise, or I don't know if you have, but you haven't taken enough of it and made it available to us. Right? And then the lie that a lot of people tell themselves, well, there's so much already in the internet, why would they buy me? Because you're going to outmarket them. Right? And you're going to be more distinctive than them. So one of the biggest mistakes that I would say that I've made is I waited too long to produce my knowledge on paper. And I don't write my books. When McGraw-Hill came to me in 2005 and said, you know, Susie's the only real woman, other woman in the space. Well, she has a very different conversation. Her conversation is to save your way to wealth. Mine is to create your way to wealth. There's very different models, right? So the model of saving is deny yourself a latte, $3 a day, right? So don't have this latte because it costs, well, it actually costs $4. So, but the model, the latte factor model, is if you put away, save, restrict your life, $3 a day for 35 years, invest it at 7%, you'll have saved your way to $1 million. So I don't know about you, but I think that model is horrible. It's ridiculous. I mean, I think budgets are like diets. No one's going to do them. No one's going to do them. So we're going to budget. Like and the whole model, if you really think, because I was in The Secret, if you have some time, go see Tapping the Source with Bill Gladstone. I'm in Tapping the Source as well. I'm one of the experts in there. And if you really believe in life flow consciousness, if you really believe, then you can't live in a dual conversation with money. And most people have two conversations with money going on, right? One is, I'm going to hoard, restrict, and save and budget, but I want to be wealthy. You don't get the same. Like, honestly, if you say you want to have financial freedom, you cannot live on a fixed income, which is why a job doesn't work, right? You have to get out of your job eventually. You don't have to go jump tomorrow. I didn't jump tomorrow. It took me a year to get out of Chevron, very strategically. I'm very, financially sound. But you have to really, like, I would challenge your real core conversation. Like, if you really had some money, would you go pay down debt, or would you go put it into marketing and sales so your growth? A lot of people are making money to pay down debt. That's not, it's the law of polarity. You're canceling each other. You can't, like, it doesn't work. So are you going to restrict your life all the way up, which is what Susie and Bach talk about, which is it's fine for some people. It is not a financial freedom model. Does that make sense? Financial freedom comes from creativity, expansion, and growth. So where are you expanding and creating and growing? I mean, right now there's $3 trillion being hoarded in people's bank accounts. Yeah. There's $3 trillion sitting on the sideline waiting to come back to the market. That's what, but we're not moving, and everybody blames the bank and the government. It's the people too. Yeah. And it's their screwed up psychology around it and the fear around it. I mean, money flows when we spend money. Right? That makes sense? So the model I want you to take on, and then you really got to start living it every day, is it's easy to deny yourself because that doesn't take much skill, right? It requires you to have some skills to put $4 in your bank account every day so you can have your latte. But boy, once I can teach you how to make $4 a day, and then $20 a day, and then $50 a day, and then we get it coming from the internet and offline, both, right? Then you're going to make $100 a day, then you make $500, but it's the base. You know, everybody says your first million is the hardest million to make. Your first 100,000 is the toughest 100,000 you'll ever make in business, because we're not entrepreneurially trained. Does that make sense? Right. Your first 100,000, but boy, once you hit 100, 200 is right there. Right? And then once I can show you how to make money every day, then the next move, like you said, Cliff, is this inconsistency thing. Guys, how do you level out hitting it every day versus having, you probably have surges too, I mean, right? Where there's money and then there's no money. There's money. That's a direct reflection of your marketing, because you're not talking to people. Like, I would challenge, if you're going to be here through Sunday, every one of you should get at least 100 names, phone numbers, and emails of people. At least 100. And then put them in a proper database and call them all back and sell them something. That's where the money is everywhere. But you're not organized. And that's at the 8 o'clock meeting. We're going to really go through how do you structure yourself. So if you haven't signed up, just follow us across. We're going to really go through how do you do that, how do you price, how do you do all that stuff. It's critical. You've got to know that. So when McGraw came to me, they knew that I had this very different model, and that was making millionaires. My fastest millionaire is 120 days. And I have probably at least 50 of them that's done in less than a year. Easy. When you get the formula, that's the problem. right? You got to get the formula of marketing and sales. So my first book was Millionaire Maker, which the way you read the book, when you go home and read the book, and the rest of you are going to get the books. Right? So the order that you read was read The Millionaire Maker first, because it's about 7 families and 7 different stories. And families come in all sorts of interesting combinations. There's a single mom in there. I'm a single mom. I got a 4-year-old and 11-year-old. They're upstairs running around, hoping they're staying sort of contained. So they travel all the time with me. Spend a lot of time with them. There's another couple that is spendaholics. They have huge jobs, and one has a business, one has a job, and they just spend it all and have no assets. So what's going to happen is you'll find yourself in one of these stories. So there's kind of 7 messes people make with their life around money, and then I give you the exact plan how to walk out. And if you really want to execute it, then you get the game. So we talked to you about, we didn't bring a game with us, but we can ship you a game. Because the game is the true execution of how to walk out to $1 million status. Because you can do it on paper, you can do it for life. But you got to see the path. And then they contracted me to do this book because everybody wants to know how wealthy people invest. Wealthy people don't invest in the stock market. We buy companies, we invest in private funds, we buy real estate in very creative ways. We use our IRAs and self-direct, very different structure. And then this was building a 6-figure business, because the people who became millionaires the fastest were people who had 6-figure businesses. You can really build your company to 6 figures, which, let's be honest, anything less than 6 figures is a job. I mean, all you did is you bought yourself a job. And I want you to buy yourself a business. See, I mean, there's a big difference. And then put more cash in your pocket is just our most recent one, which is how do you do it every day? Because through the recession, depression time, if Americans would have learned to make $700 to $800, create a new $700 and $800, over 90% of the homes that went into foreclosures would not have gone in. That's all each household needed to make. Isn't that sad? That is such a little per month.
What, how much?
$700 to $800 on average is all an average American home needed to not go into foreclosure. Which was the inspiration of why I said, how do you do 500 to 1,000? Because it was right in that ballpark. That if Americans would learn to make a little bit of money, they wouldn't have gone into foreclosure. Isn't that amazing? It was that much. And I mean, that's like, you do that in your sleep, right? And that's easy. I mean, where most people think about, especially here, is you have to do what you know. Don't go jump around to do a whole bunch of wild things you don't know how to do. Right? So if you're a teacher, teach. Tutor, expand the teaching ability. If you're coaching, expand to other products. Right? Do more of it. Right? If you're doing legal, don't just do prepaid, do a lot more. I mean, LegalZoom's a great model for you to go look at what they're doing over there, because they're making a fortune. Okay, so how do you get to play? How do you get the content out of your head? How do you get more production gigs? And how do you do audio stuff, video stuff? Every website in the world needs video. I mean, Google's designed to search on video. If you don't have video, so you don't have to wait for big production jobs. Do little stuff. And a lot of people, again, are too arrogant. I don't want to do little stuff. Well, if you don't know how to do little stuff, you're not going to get the big stuff. Right? You see so that's kind of who I am and what I do. What I want to share with you are 5 biggest obstacles. Like Rebecca said, this is there's a women's group. I'm being inducted into the Women Hall of Fame of Marin, because I lived in Marin for a long time. Did a lot of work up there. And I'll be the youngest. I'll be the only 150 that's ever been inducted into the Hall of Fame. So they asked me to do this talk, and so when I was invited to do this talk, they said, well, don't talk about your money stuff, do that at 8 o'clock. I said, what do you want me to talk about? They said, you. And I said, well, that's interesting, but I never really talked much about me. So I'm talking about me now. So I've really been challenged. In fact, I was just contracted, we're working with Hay House right now to do my next book. I wasn't going to do another book, but we're doing another book. So Reed Tracy, who's the CEO and runs it, he and I have become great friends. So I called him a couple days ago, and I said, I think I'm ready for a book. And it's a Hay House book, because it's a spiritual. It's a woman-led, how I lived, I mean, we're in the top 3 companies in the world in the space right now. If you kind of look around right now, most of the people who used to teach money aren't living, if you've noticed that. Most of them, I mean, they're living, but they've closed their companies, or they went bankrupt, because they didn't know how to run the company, which is sad. But I think the biggest obstacles that I've had to overcome to become this, and again, I'm a little farm girl from Nebraska, and I lived in the depths of Chevron refineries. If I can do it, God, you guys can do it, right? But you got to get the right mindset, and you got to get the right people around you. And I can't say that seriously enough. Like, I only hang out with cool people. that support my life. It is not negotiable. All right, now so I'm going to share a lot more about that. But really, I think there's so much toleration. If you really thought about how many people